So this Eric July stuff has continued to get crazy. I thought it would be probably a good idea to have a video more like this, where I just talk about my general take on some of this stuff, because it is kind of crazy. Eric, this whole lawsuit, how it came about, how this whole thing got started in the first place, is really quite interesting. There's something to be said about how people react to people on the internet, the haters, as you will. And Eric, somebody who coined this monetize the hater mentality on his own channel, you would assume would know how to deal with these types. But when Eric July specifically had the issues with Vito Gesualdi, rather than respond to these issues with exactly what had worked previously, the striking of the Geeks and Gamers channel, or the attempt to get YouTube to remove the videos that they did with Alex Jones, the reaction that the Nerdrotic crew had to that in most cases were to either clown Vito on their show or simply not mention him, ergo not giving him the attention that he wanted. Because ultimately, I do think him striking them was done in a way to try to garner attention. This is ultimately what Eric should have done. He should have, frankly, kept his mouth shut. But Eric's mentality doesn't allow him to do this. He has to pull up. And so the result of him pulling up is exactly what has happened. It's the slow separation of his comic book and fan base from reality. And that is not a good place to be in. Eric has the issue of bringing up a fan base that expects him to act a certain way. If he removes himself from the way that he has portrayed himself in the past, or he breaks away from those principles, he will look bad to that fan base, and that fan base will in turn lash out or not buy the products that he is putting out, as bad as they may be in writing or form. This is what has created the problem of ISOM. The legal implications that came out of Eric's reaction to trolls or people giving him shit on the internet is the reason why we are here today. That is my opinion. Now, secondly, I want to state, much like Nick Rekieta has stated, I want Eric July to win this lawsuit. I want him to do as good as possible. But the way that he has acted on the internet is going to drive a wedge in between any future fans he could have and the fans that he already has that he is attempting to placate, play to. This is going to come back to bite him in the ass, and I think anybody with half a brain realizes that at this point. That is not a good position to be in. But only time will tell. As this whole lawsuit thing progresses, the interesting thing is going to be seeing legal documents come out and how the internet reacts to those. We're going to get to see what it is that the ISOM ministry really thinks they have on the ISOM trademark. We've already seen the organization talk about how the spelling is exactly the same, how the internet search algorithms, SEO, has been sort of hijacked by Eric July and his comic book, and this is where the trademark lawsuit becomes sort of a necessity. We've also seen recently messages, Twitter responses, this is quite a while ago at this point, around the time that the first ISOM book was coming out, referencing the ministry, and we have Eric July responding to those tweets. That certainly is not going to look good in court, because this shows some form of previous knowledge of this existing trademark. And that's something that Eric, up until this point, has been quiet on, which I think anybody with half a brain cell has to think, well, at some point, Eric July or somebody connected to his legal team or his partners or people around him would have simply done a Google search for the word that is literally the basis of your entire comic book. But unfortunately, Eric and his people so far would have you believe that. At least I haven't seen anybody directly say that they never Googled this or that they did Google that. they seem to be pretty mum on that subject, which is interesting to me because I think that would be a pretty important thing. But of course, this comes down to how much of this stuff is Eric going to want to share with the public. Obviously, this is a court case of some kind. This is going to go to in front of a judge. And you wouldn't want to have some stupid statements out there, right? But that's, of course, the opposite of what Eric July has done, because if you go on his Twitter timeline or anybody connected to his business from a financial point of view, you're going to see very stupid remarks being made. Not to mention the fact that Eric July went on stream with Nick Rekieta and talked about the charity debacle that was his comic book and all the other things attached to it, which did not make him look good. And definitely doesn't look good from, again, the charity aspect, at least from my knowledge of it, not being a lawyer. This entire thing is crazy. And again, the ISOM Eric July lawsuit drama is sort of on ice. But the only thing putting it back in the fire is Eric July, continuously commenting on it and getting into battles online with people connected to it. Especially with this whole Ethan Van Sciver stuff. Obviously, we see text messages that Eric July had sent to Ethan Van Sciver. Ethan claims these were in a threatening manner. I happen to agree with Ethan that those messages do not look good at all. And it is, it's reminiscent of what some of my family members would talk about as far as the Hollywood industry and the filmmaking industry. It reminded me a lot of that, and so when I saw that message, it definitely kind of fall into agreement with EVS on that topic. I do think that was a message that was meant to sort of instill some sort of fear into him, which I think was done on Eric's part, but I think that's probably something that's been done to other creators behind closed doors. That's something that Nick Rekieta has touched on with this supposed list, right? Eric July has a list and he's checking it twice. I believe I said that on a live stream talking about this Eric July mess before, and I think it still stands true. I've known there's many content creators on YouTube who've been caught doing this in the past, and it's never a good thing. You shouldn't be keeping lists of content creators you don't want to work with. That's not something you ever need to do, especially if you want to. Really, to be honest, you can have a list of content creators you've maybe worked with in the past that you don't want to work with again. What you shouldn't do is try to enforce that list on other content creators, which is something that I have a feeling Eric probably would do. In other words, well, maybe if me and you don't get along, you're not going to be on these streams with these other guys that I know who have view counts as well. And again, when you're in EVS's position where you have a shared fan base, this is much like he said, I think it puts you in a very, very nasty position in between a rock and a hard place. And so I think EVS staying quiet for a bit made a lot of sense. Now, of course, I think he's on the shit list anyway, so coming out with that message makes a lot of sense, and I think it opens up a lot of people's eyes to what was going on the Eric July private side of things behind closed doors, because it certainly doesn't look good. But right now, as things sit, the lawsuit is moving forward, and we're going to wait to see as things roll forward there. Riley is still yucking it up, as he should be, being the imminent troll in this whole situation as he was. Got beat to the grave site of ISOM. That photo was gotten by another content creator whose name is escaping my head. But, yeah, crazy drama. Go watch a show I did with Tyler Yonke if you want sort of the full coverage of it. I'll leave that in the description down below. But this was sort of just an update where we're at video rather than a stream. So I'll suggest go listen to that stream. It was longer. There's other streams that are going to be out. I'm probably going to be on some more of them because I'm talking about this topic as it develops. But yeah, crazy. Eric July ISOM comic book lawsuit is going to be a wild ride on the internet. And yeah, hopefully y'all are here for it. Peace.